Fight Mike here. Today we're going to be going through every fight on the UFC Atlanta card that just took place. Starting off with the early prelim opener of Jamie Lynn Horth versus Vanessa Demopoulos. As soon as this fight started, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but I could just tell that Jamie Lynn Horth was going to out-physicality and be the more imposing figure over 3 rounds. It just looks like Vanessa Demopoulos still belongs in the strawweight division. She's not big enough for flyweight. A lot of these women are a little bit taller than her, a bit more rangy, and they carry the same amount of power as her. Another thing with Jamie Lynn Horth is that she's looking a lot more clean on the feet as of recent, and her straight punches were constantly going to beat the looping hooks of Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa didn't really try to get off her jab or any of her straight punches. She was doing a lot of kicking off her punches, which was doing well. But just all in all, I think Jamie Lynn Horth was just a bit more quick and a bit more clean with her striking and was just able to grind out the decision over 3 rounds. Round 2 was a little bit closer though, but Jamie Lynn Horth was just still outstriking her with her reach advantage, just peppering her at the end of her jab and her right hand. Round 3 was also close. Vanessa was really trying to win, which I do really like. I think she would do well at strawweight if she can really lock in. She was pulling guard, going for leg locks, winging hooks, but she just still couldn't pull it off. Moving on, we've got Philip Rowe versus Ange Looser. I thought that Ange Looser was going to be able to get this one out via decision. I thought he was going to win 2 of the rounds and lose one of them, and it looked like it was trending towards that way. First 2 rounds definitely went to Ange Looser. Round 1, I think Philip Rowe, due to all of the inactivity, just looked a little bit slow out there. He wasn't as quick and responsive as he usually is. Usually he's countering quick, and as soon as he gets you up against the cage, he's just winging shots. And it took only about a minute and a half for Ange to get him down in the first round. He held him down for that whole round, barely being able to move. There was very little ground and pound from Ange Looser, which could have costed him towards the end of the fight, as if he had worn him out with some more ground and pound, he could have actually got a finish in this. But he was keeping the dominant position, looked pretty good in round 1. Round 2 was closer. Looser started fast, but faded as the round went along. For the first 2 minutes, he was really outspeeding Philip Rowe. He was going hard. He was throwing a lot as well. But then during the middle 2 minutes of the round, Philip Rowe was just really coming along nicely. But then Ange landed a really big shot that rocked him, dropped him, I think, and that probably won him back the round. He hit him with some more ground and pound after dropping him as well, which definitely secured him that second round. Starting round 3, Philip Rowe was a little bit hesitant. He was probably still recovering from the ground and pound and getting dropped the round before. But once he got taken down early in round 3 as well and was held down for about a minute and a half or so. But once he got up, I think he recognized that he just needed a finish. And he looked over at Ange Looser, and Ange Looser is a really hench, big guy. And I think that probably played into a factor of this finish. He was just so tired as soon as Philip Rowe got up from the takedown. You could just see Ange Looser's hands were hanging out of his waist, and he was just unable to defend himself just because he was so gassed up. And then Philip Rowe just poured him on him, teeing off on him. And then he ended up getting him pressed up against the cage and then held Ange Looser's head up and just shoveled 8 punches into his face. And at one point, I feel for the last 3 shots, he was actually just holding Ange Looser up with that. And Ange just couldn't defend himself anymore. He was just way too tired. So Philip Rowe was able to get the KO in the last minute of the fight. And a fight that he was losing. So it's a really good performance for him. Gutted for Ange Looser, but honestly, he needs to lose some of that weight or go to... Honestly, he just needs to lose some of that weight. He's too short to go to middleweight, so we'll see what happens for both of these guys next. We've got Ricky Simone versus Cameron Smotherman. Early in the round, Ricky Simone, in the first round, it was a pretty even fight, but Ricky just looked a little bit faster. He was throwing a lot of leg kicks, threw a head kick and a couple of hooks, and then he just grabbed a single and was just able to get Smotherman down straight away. Smotherman didn't react quick enough. You could see on the single, I think it could have even initially been a feint. And then Ricky Simone realized, hey, I'm already here on the hip, and then just decided to take him down. And was just able to keep him down for most of the round. And I think that Ricky Simone was just a little bit too quick for Smotherman in those first 2 rounds. We've seen this before in the Surrey City fight that was somewhat recent. Although that was more held in the striking, it was still Smotherman just getting into the fight a little bit too late and getting pieced up for the first 2 rounds. And first 2 rounds of this fight, Ricky Simone was literally smothering Cameron Smotherman. It's a terrible name for him because he literally keeps getting smothered as well. It was somewhat close. There was not enough ground and pound for me to say it was a domination for Ricky Simone in those first 2 rounds. But he just looked good. His takedowns were good. He was doing the cross-face single leg, which looked really good. And it was pretty successful. I think he got him down with that maybe 3 times in the fight. I think Cameron Smotherman attempted a ninja choke during the fight, but I think it gassed him out. Gassed his arms out, at least, from being able to get the finish in the third. Ricky was landing well in the third, but he was just not... Neither fighter in the third really looked amazing, but I think Cameron probably won that third round. Moving on, we've got Cody Durden versus Jose Ochoa. This was a really fun fight. I was expecting that this would be good, and I knew that Jose Ochoa was going to smoke Cody Durden at some point in this fight. Durden, however, he did really well. I did think that he actually exceeded my expectations, just because I thought that the natural underhook that Jose Ochoa would have had if he fought like he did in the Lona Kavanagh fight would have been, he would have been able to defend all the first 2 takedowns. So if you've seen the Lona Kavanagh fight, he had his hands a lot lower, but he got tagged a lot in that fight. So I think he fixed that up in this fight and had his hands up the whole time, but he was still able to defend the wrestling really well. At one point, Jose Ochoa was styling on him on the feet. He was doing a lot of teeps and uppercuts to the body. They looked really good. And he started spitting everywhere for the finish at the end of the first. But then Durden just cracked him with these 2 hard shots mid-combo. Kind of kept Ochoa honest for the rest of the round. And round 2 started and he just brutally KOs. He doesn't KO him instantly. He rocks him with I believe it was a uppercut. No, I think it was a right hand, and then just slapped him with the follow-up shot, which was, I think, a right uppercut, which was a beautiful shot. And there was just a couple of ground and pound shots, just clean win for Jose Ochoa. I think he was always going to have a leveled up striking compared to Cody Durden. Durden's, I think he's about 34 years old now, and Jose Ochoa's 24, so he was always going to have the speed advantage in this one. So all in all, it was a great performance from Ochoa, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he has coming up for him next. I think he'll be a future top 15, top 10 type guy. Moving on, we've got Malcolm Wellmaker versus Chris Moutinho. Not really much to break down with this one. I did think that this was going to be a finish for Malcolm Wellmaker. I, however, thought that Moutinho was going to last for a little bit longer. Instantly in the fight, you could see that there was a speed disadvantage for Moutinho. Although he was pushing forward, trudging forward, he was going for the clinch a little bit. You could see he was trying to wear on Malcolm Wellmaker a little bit in this fight. But you could see the counters of Wellmaker, the hooks that were coming in were just too quick for Chris Moutinho to be able to notice those ones. The way that he finished him, he threw a right hook whilst loading up completely and just colded Moutinho. There was a point just before the finish, for that 45 seconds before, he was brutally overswinging after he had hurt Chris Moutinho. But I think he just knew that he was a level of speed above Chris, and he was going to get that finish if he really pushed for it. So got a beautiful knockout in round 1, and again, another guy I'm really excited for in the future. Moving on, we had the Court McGee versus Michael Chiesa fight. This wasn't as fun. If you were watching this fight, you maybe could have thought that they were going to grapple the whole time, but I realized that a lot of people who have like a stylistic matchup where there's 2 guys with really good grappling, which these guys do, like Court McGee and Michael Chiesa both have many submissions on their record, and they're both well known as good ground guys. But when guys fight like this, they're both too scared of their ground game, and they end up standing for the entire time. I think Michael Chiesa's size basically won him this fight. He was a lot taller and bigger and a bigger reach and range than Court McGee. So he was just able to catch him a lot more and a lot harder. And just at the end of the punches, so McGee wasn't... I swear I didn't see McGee land a punch until halfway through the second round. Both of these guys kind of showed their age in this one. I thought that Michael Chiesa was probably going to be able to get Court McGee down, but he didn't really try until that third round, I think. He might have shot once in the second, but it just wasn't... He wasn't really going for the grappling. And to be honest, why would he? He was already winning on the feet. So, all right, matchup. I think we would have preferred to see like a younger guy fight one of the both of these guys, just so it would be more interesting. But sometimes it's nice to get these unk-on-unk matchups. Moving on, we've got Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. Oh, this was so funny. I don't want to like talk out of my ass and like pretend I know what I'm talking about, but like this was such a weird fight. Like I don't think anyone expected this to go away the way it went. As the fight started, so I'll recap the events of this fight. Paul was sort of winning the exchanges somehow. Like if you see on the stats here, he's 40 out of 52 to Rodolfo's 16 out of 27. Bellato was swinging really hard in the first like 3 minutes, but I swear he connected maybe once, and it was really not clean. Whereas Paul Craig was hitting him with like a couple of jabs, instantly on the back foot, but he was hitting him with jabs, hitting him with body kicks, hitting him with a couple of knees as well. Like Paul was fighting pretty well. He hit him with a spinning back kick twice. Like he was actually looking like vintage Paul Craig out there, and he shot for a single leg twice on Bellato, momentarily getting him down, but Bellato just like springs back up. And then Bellato got into half guard as Craig shot in. He defended the takedown, then sort of like pushed him into half guard. And then Paul Craig does the same thing that Juliana Pena did to Kayla Harrison, and he does like an up kick in the position where they're in full guard, and then Bellato's on his knees and up kicks like and hits the side of his neck. And like you remember when Kayla Harrison got that from Juliana Pena, I swear she almost took two of those, and it was like fine. This thing happened, and Bellato like almost like football player-esque like falls back, hands up in the air, and then midway through the air, like you see him in the slow motion replay lock eyes with the ref, and then halfway down he just like plonks back, smacking his head on the canvas like it was just such a confusing stoppage. Like obviously I'm not questioning the stoppage at all, but like Bellato was like spazzing out on the ground a little bit, like making little like twitches, but it just didn't. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't like say this, but it didn't look that convincing. Like he was like looking at the ref the whole time. He looked like he understood what was happening, but he just like was putting it on. But yeah, it was a weird situation, and it ended up being a draw, no contest. Not sure what that result means, but yeah, that's a terrible look for Bellato. I hope he doesn't get any favored matchups after this. I hope he gets like a hard light heavyweight, even maybe an Umar Sy after his fight today, get like a warm-up matchup to Rodolfo Bellato, and let's get him out of the UFC. Moving on, we've got Alonzo Menifield versus Umar Sy. I was actually pretty confident about this fight. I ended up putting a little bit of money on this and won pretty good because the odds came up to about plus 650 on this, and I was actually so confident with this. I didn't think that Umar Sy was all that. I didn't think he was that good. The first round was pretty close. I couldn't really tell who was winning in the first. I think Sy was up on the numbers, but I felt like Menifield was landing the cleaner shots and looked like the better fighter out there. Umar Sy was like throwing, but he wasn't landing anything that like seemed to do any damage to Alonzo Menifield. Round two was a lot different. Umar Sy just spent the most of the round holding him against the cage, like attempting a takedown. He got him to the ground once, almost got to the back. Menifield got back up, and then they clinched for the rest of the round. It wasn't a dominant round, but definitely went to Umar Sy. And then round three, they were so tired, and I swear Umar Sy just thought he won the first two and decided to just put his foot on the back foot and just stop trying to win. Like he was sorry, not put foot on the back foot, but like take his foot off the gas. He was still pressuring, but he wasn't really trying to end the fight, and he just barely threw in that third round. I think Menifield outlanded him in the third and also landed the cleaner shot, so it was a pretty easy 29-28 win for me. I thought they almost were going to give it to Sy. I feel like this is the sort of prospect that they would be like, oh, let's just believe in it. And even then, he's got room to improve. I think he's 29 years old, so I think we'll see him in the rankings at some point, but just now wasn't the time. Moving on, we've got Mansour Abdulmalik versus Cody Brundage. I don't understand this fight. Like this fight annoyed me more than the Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. Mansour didn't look very good in the first round. I remember Cody Brundage was just sort of piecing him up. He looked a lot faster with the boxing, and he was landing a couple of good leg kicks, and he just looked a little bit better than Mansour on the feet. They were super inactive for the first like 3 minutes of the round, which wasn't fun to watch at all. Like this fight wasn't a good fight. And then the second round comes along. Like the first round was super inactive. Neither fighter like threw many punches at all. But I feel like Cody Brundage won the round because I don't remember Mansour even landing a punch. Maybe he landed one punch in the first round. Like I feel like he landed nothing. And Cody Brundage landed probably like 12 shots, like a couple of leg kicks, and they were all clean. And he looked the cleanest striker out of the two in the first round. Round two, it was super inactive again for the first like 2 minutes of the round, and then or maybe like minute 30 of the round, and then Mansour just decides, okay, I'm gonna start swinging. They get super scrappy. Cody Brundage is throwing back. They both land a couple of strikes each, and Mansour's getting the better of those exchanges. But even then, like it was just that exchange, and then I felt like Cody Brundage won the rest of that round as well. So it was just like it was really, I thought it was 1-1 maybe 2-0 Brundage, I didn't really know. And then round three came in, and it looks like Brundage instantly got dropped, and I think it was by a right hand. And then he gets up and starts swinging hard. You remember in the Vanderlei Silva versus Brian Stann fight where they're both like just winging shots at each other like with no defense and just trying to kill each other. That's what Cody Brundage started doing. And respect to Cody, that was like nice for the fans to watch that. And they were both like clipping each other for like 10 seconds, and then they sort of like reset once they realized neither of them were going to get finished. Mansour just flies in with like a knee and a headbutt and just crumples Cody Brundage. And Brundage is going down like literally wincing to the head. And then Mansour just like sort of punches him on the ground, and then the ref calls it TKO. But then they call it a decision. Round three. Like I don't understand. Like I feel like they can't. I don't know how they can score any of that round three. And even then, if they scored round three, you can't give both rounds to Mansour Abdul Malik. Like this should have been a draw, or just I feel like it should have been a draw or a no contest. Because we saw in the fight earlier, like there was a I can't even remember what there was earlier. Yeah, it was the Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato fight. If you remember that one's called a no contest. Why isn't this called a no contest? It's a legal headbutt and an illegal kick. Shouldn't it get the same punishment? So I don't get how Mansour gets to win this. I'm not going to say I'm necessarily annoyed that he gets to win it, just because I would prefer him as a prospect. I don't think Cody Brundage is like getting much better in his career, whereas I can somewhat still believe in the hype around Mansour Abdul Malik, but I'm not going to pick it as much as I used to. So I'll still watch out for him as a prospect, but I thought he was going to be a top 5 type guy. I definitely don't believe that now. I think that he'll be maybe a top 15. Moving on, we have Cody Garbrandt versus Raoni Barcelos. This was pretty fun. I actually really enjoyed this fight. This could have been fight of the night for me. Round 1, Cody Garbrandt looked really good. He was a lot faster than Barcelos, obviously, in round 1. I think everyone expects Cody Garbrandt to always be the faster guy. But it was only really in the first. His takedown defense looked pretty good. He got a cut early in the fight. And the problem with this fight was that Garbrandt was doing way too many just explosive movements. And you could see that he was starting to wear himself out towards the end of the round. I think he dropped Barcelos once and rocked him in that first round, but it was still a close round. Like Barcelos started coming along a lot more towards the end of that round, showing a lot of heart. And he sort of had like a Edson Barboza, Jose Aldo type high guard. Like it was a really nice performance from Barcelos. Round 2, it was a lot more scrappy. Garbrandt was missing a lot more, and Barcelos was shooting a lot of takedowns. And it was sort of like making Garbrandt a bit more hesitant on the feet. Although he defended the takedowns really well, we just didn't see him strike enough. And then Barcelos was able to fire off a few more shots on him in this round. And he was getting pushed up against the cage after the takedowns. And Raoni just started outworking him throughout this fight. Barcelos also cracked him hard in the chin at the end of the round, really definitely putting a stamp on the round, making sure he won that. And he really rocked Garbrandt. If there was another 10 seconds in that round, I could see him getting the finish. Round 3 was close. Barcelos was stalking him a lot. There was a lot of jabs and leg kicks. I saw that Garbrandt was welting a little bit in this one. He got hurt in the middle of round 2. a couple of times from Barcelos, and he was he was shooting a lot. But I do like that now that he's sort of like shown an elevation in his game where he's like, where now he's getting hurt and he's not just like shooting takedowns. He's actually like, now he's getting hurt and he's not just like throwing back. He's actually just shooting takedowns and trying to win the fight. And Barcelos was able to sprawl out of takedowns, get his own like takedown and end up on top. And Garbrandt exploded out of it, but it just wasn't enough for him to win the round. And they ended up on the feet, and for the end of the round, they both basically just missed the rest of their strikes for the last like minute. But closer fight in the third, but it just looks like Howney outworked Garbrandt, and I definitely agree with that decision. Moving on, we've got Edmund Shabazian versus Andre Petroski. Shabazian's definitely improved a ton. He's never shown this level of like grappling defense. Usually he looks like a bit more malleable when you go to try and take him down. I thought Shabazian also towered over Petroski. I knew Petroski wasn't a big middleweight, but I thought that Shabazian also wasn't a big middleweight. I thought he was a leaner guy than he looked tonight. Shabazian looked really explosive, especially compared to Petroski, who's not the fastest guy on the feet. And Petroski wasn't able to use his feints to really shoot within range. He was shooting from really far out, and that was really helping Edmund from being able to sprawl. Round two was a little bit closer. Petroski was getting pushed back too much by Edmund in both rounds, which really hurt him in this. Because he was getting pushed back, he wasn't able to shoot as much, and he was getting a lot more tired in this fight. In round two, Petroski had a little bit more success, but when Edmund was landing, it had a lot more effect, and that was throughout the whole fight. Like, Edmund's straight left, and he had a nice right hook. Like, all of his shots just seemed to be beaming across Petroski's chin when he was throwing it. Like, he just looks like a really, really well-seasoned striker. Edmund in the third round was throwing some mean shots against the cage as well. I really liked that. He was pushing him back a lot more in the third. Petroski jumped on a takedown. Edmund literally instantly got up, so it just showed an evolution in his game. And he was really selective with his shots. I think he hurt Andre Petroski at the end with his to the arm, and then Edmund basically for the last like minute or so was just blasting kicks to the arm for the rest of the fight, and definitely won the decision. He was outpointing Petroski comfortably and just looked the much sharper, cleaner striker. Moving on, we've got Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. I would say round one was really close. I do think that I somewhat had a read on this. I somewhat think that Miranda Maverick won this, but I thought Miranda would have a better footwork on it than Rose in this fight. I think since Rose has moved to flyweight, her footwork has not been as good as when she was in strawweight. She seemed a lot more flowy on the feet back then. And Miranda had a output advantage in that first first round, and she was winning a lot of the not boxing exchanges, but winning a lot of the kicking exchanges. She was kicking after her punches and sort of just adding up the numbers a little bit more than Rose was. Round two, Miranda controlled in the clinch, and it was I don't even remember really this fight. I remember one of the rounds, Miranda was definitely holding her up against the cage and maybe got a takedown. And then Rose got a takedown. No, so it was Rose, that got a takedown in the second round. Sorry, this fight was so forgettable. But she got a takedown in the second round, and she just sort of held position, got reversed at some point, and then Miranda Maverick was just able to get back on the feet and outland her. And, no, sorry, not get back out the feet. Sorry, I'm getting this whole fight wrong. In round two, Rose takes her down. Sorry, this was a terribly forgettable fight, but she takes her down. She gets a rear naked choke on her. Almost gets it, but then gets reversed herself. Maverick threatens the sub. She almost gets up, and then Maverick gets some ground and pound against the cage and wins the round back, I would say, in round two. It was a close round. Rose dominated the first part of the round with the takedown, but she camped in full guard for a bit, and she was close on the submission, but for Maverick to come back out, threaten her own submission, and get some actual damaging ground and pound shots, I thought she won that round. And then round three, Maverick was slightly outstriking her. The clinch work was pretty good, but then gets dropped with a brutal check left hook. It was a really nice shot. It was while Miranda Maverick was going for an overhand left. And she was just able to get her down straight away, but just fumbles the finish. It was such an odd sight to see, because she drops her and then instantly chest down tries to stick her to the ground instead of staying up and trying to follow up with like some Sean O'Malley, Aljamain Sterling ground and pound from a upwards position. Like she just went straight for the stick instead of the takedown, which I thought was an iffy decision. But either way, she won the decision, and I thought that Maverick won it, but I'm not too unhappy with it because it was such a terrible fight. So moving on to the real fight of this card, one of the only fun fights to this was the Usman versus Buckley fight, the main event. This was a really interesting fight. I did have Joaquin Buckley winning this, and I'm not mad that Kamaru Usman won. I actually, towards like the middle of the fight, even round 2 came along, and I was like, even if this isn't going to be the most enjoyable fight, I still want to see Usman win this. I want to see one of these, more of these old guys win. Like, I like it when the old guard with the name can hold down the fort, because that just makes an even bigger star if someone is able to beat him. Like, if Usman can go in his next fight and fight like a JDM, and JDM smokes him after beating Islam, then I'm just looking at JDM's resume just a lot better. So I'm really not unhappy that he was able to win this fight. So getting to the actual like calling the fight, Buckley got taken down super early in round 1 by Usman, and he was just able to get held down in half guard. There was a little bit of good ground and pound late. That was probably the best ground and pound out of any of the rounds. And he was throwing some elbows at the end of the round 1. He was looking really good. Like, I saw that and I was like, Jesus, this is a like an instant 2017, 2018 Usman like performance. And it still was throughout the whole fight. Round 2, they struck for a little bit longer. I think Joaquin was expecting another early takedown, and then maybe like 1 minute 45 through the round, Usman shot another takedown, and he just looked really good. Like, that round was much the same. He was able to just keep him on the floor, keep him in a half guard, keep the referee away. He was doing enough punches to keep him down, a couple of elbows, a little bit of damage. And the thing is that, like, Usman, before getting taken down in the first few rounds, he was actually doing pretty well keeping Buckley at range, because Usman is really good at keeping people at range, and Joaquin Buckley's like main striking threat is all in the pocket. So Usman was able to keep him away from him with the jab and the front kick, and then whenever he would see Buckley actually load up in the first few rounds, that's when he would go for his takedown, or like straight after Buckley would load up. Round 3, it was another similar round. I think Buckley was swinging a little bit more in the third round. At the start, he swung earlier at least. He was going for it at the start of the third round. I thought maybe Usman was going to start feeling the shots. But then Usman just came back in, got back to himself, got more reserved, working the body and working his jab. And then he started to Buckley started to land a little bit better as like a minute got through the round. This is in round 3. And then Usman looked pretty iffy in the pocket. This is the first round I noticed that. Like, you could see Buckley was ripping some body shots, and then Usman was sort of like bobbing his head. Also, they head clashed like 7 times this fight. They were constantly head clashing just because of their styles. Buckley coming in, swinging hooks with his head, and Kamaru ducks with his head forward. So it was just that sort of fight. But Buckley in the third round was really going for it, and you could sort of see the holes in Usman's striking offense. And Usman got caught by a really big shot in the third. I don't know if many people noticed this one. I think it was like a right hook, and then instantly goes for a big single leg. Buckley tried to shake him off, but then Buckley actually tried to strike whilst Usman was going for that single leg, and that allowed Usman to get him on the ground. Instead of just defending first, which he probably would have shucked that takedown off, he tried to strike off it, which I think that was just because he just hurt Usman a little bit. And then Usman was able to take him down, work good ground and pound in half guard for the rest of that round 3. Buckley tried to get up, but Usman kept just bringing him back down and got some good ground and pound. Like, each time Buckley would try to get up, Usman just showed some good hand and wrist control, bringing him down. He would wrap the legs up. Like, he was really crafty in this fight, just keeping him down. This actually reminded me of the Usman versus Masvidal 1, the first fight, when he didn't knock out Masvidal. Round 4 was it was a similar-ish round, but I think Buckley probably won this one. I think he knew he needed the finish. He was really pushing for the finish in the last 2 rounds, which I was really admiring from him. Like, I was happy that he just put everything down and he just knew he wanted to win. Usman stayed really safe on the feet. He shot in for another takedown. which Buckley initially defended well, but the reshoot just got him down, and that was like halfway through the round. And in that first part of the round, Buckley was throwing a lot but missing a lot of shots, so Usman was just able to evade and get him to the ground, stall out the rest of the round, make sure he survived. And I could almost give that round to Usman, like it was a very close round. Round 5 wasn't nearly as close. You could see Usman getting a lot more tired, and Buckley defended all 5 takedowns in that last round, or maybe like 4 takedowns in that last round. Usman looked really slow on the feet on this round. Like if you're in there with someone like JDM, I think he would have finished Usman in this round, but he was like unable to get out of the way of Buckley's shots. The takedown attempts looked a lot slower. He was sort of like diving at the legs from meters away, which wasn't a good look. But even then, he knew Usman's, and he's a really smart fighter. Like there's no chance him and his coach didn't know he won those first 3 rounds and could have won the 4th. So he was just trying to survive that last round. Buckley hurt Usman after he shot like 3 takedowns, and he hurt him with like a sharp shot with like a minute left, and then Usman just got the clinch against the cage, saved himself a little bit. Buckley still has really good cardio, and I'm excited to see him in the future, maybe like a main event against Kevin Holland. But Buckley was stinging him in the 5th. He was winging shots. Usman was sort of just on the defense, surviving the round. And Buckley pushed through, but he just couldn't get the win in that last round. And Usman just showed some veteran skills there. And I've never been happier to be wrong on a main event, to be honest. I'm excited for these matchups with Usman's name in the hat still at the top. Like, people are going to pretend it's better for the division if Buckley wins, but it's actually not. It's so much better for these guys. If Usman can have 2 more fights now because he's seen he's still got it, and 2 more people can get him on his resume, or he can get 2 more wins, I'm more than happy to see that. Even if his style sometimes isn't the most fun, I always like to see really skilled fighters. So I was happy with this, but overall the card wasn't very fun. There was a few good performances here and there, but the main card wasn't very good at all. But came home with a good, like, feel-good moment at the end with Kamaru Usman winning, and I still think Buckley will be able to come back from this. Let me know what you think of the card. What do you think the best fight of the card was? And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.